when I think my mom and dad, they were married at the time. I was very young. I was 21 months old. My mom and dad had a Buick 88, I think is what it was called. Now, this would have been, maybe it was a Buick 98. I don't know. That was just the name of it. This would have been in like 1983 or 84. So that was just the name of it. And it was apparently the nicest car they had ever had. It had power windows, power locks, which wasn't necessarily a thing. It had a bench seat in the front. A lot of those old school cars will have the bench seat in the front. And my dad was at work, and my dad lives in this house. He still lives there. He lives in a house that his dad built in 1947. My dad was born in 1947. His dad built that house a little later. My dad moved there and has lived there all but 10 years of his life. It's pretty amazing. My dad lived there until he was 19. His dad passed away when he was 19. So him and his mom moved to town, the town of Lafayette, when my dad was 19, and sold the family farm, the house that my granddad built. Well, 10 years later, the house came up for sale. The farm came up for sale, and my dad bought it back and has lived there since then. So since my dad was 29, he's lived in this house. So this house, it sits not necessarily on a hill because it's level with the road, but behind the house it goes down. It kind of dips down into a little bit of a valley. He has a cow pasture there.
This is a bull, and number 22, he's been following her around today, which as you can see is April the 2nd.
And then on the other side of the cow pasture is a pond. It's a small pond, but it is a pond. And as I mentioned last week on the podcast, my mom can't swim. I don't understand that. I thought everybody that grew up in the country can swim. I'm a great swimmer. In fact, swimming may be the sport that I'm best at. A lot of people don't know how good I am at swimming. Now, I'm getting older and I never swim anymore, so I don't know if that's true anymore. But in the early 2000s, I had gained a bit of weight, and I was always drunk, right, in my 20s. And I lived at this apartment complex called Riverland Woods, and we used to sit out there and get drunk and at the pool, and there'd be a lot of people at the pool, and then I would challenge random in shape dudes to race me, and they would almost laugh and go, "Yeah, I'll race you," and then I would beat them because I'm very good at swimming. I've always been a good swimmer, and because I learned to swim in ponds and creeks. And at my dad's house, I had two stepbrothers that were older than me, and all their friends were older than me. So they were all older, bigger, stronger than me. So I grew up swimming with these guys, and they would beat me all the time. All of them would beat me all the time. So I just had to learn to keep up.
All right, hit it, come on. All right, come on, boy. That's good. You come all the way to the rope.
And I was also, we used to go swimming in the Tallapoosa River, which my dad was like, never swim in this. He said there's undertows and currents that can catch you and you can drown, and a lot of people have drowned in this river. Never swim in this. So the first opportunity we got on our four-wheelers, we drove down there and we swam in it because that's what we do. I used to swim in rock quarries. In Opelika, there was a rock quarry where you jump off this big kind of wall into the water, and who knows what we were swimming in. But we were all out there doing it. So I'm a great swimmer. Everybody I know in my family is a good swimmer. My mom can't swim. I don't get it. All right, so back to this Buick 88. So my dad's at work, and my mom, the story, nobody really knows what's going on here. Apparently, my mom was driving with me, and there was no car seats back in this time, and I guess I wasn't strapped in at all. I was just standing at 21 months old on the passenger side of the bench seat. Now, the car had one of those throttles that you pull down on the dash, so you put it in park there, and you pull it down into, neutral and drive and whatever. And those cars back in the day, you didn't really need to push the brake to do anything. You could just pull it. And this 1982 Buick LeSabre that I drove for a while, if you put that car in drive, it's going. You don't even have to push the gas. I mean, it starts going. So I imagine this Buick 88 was like that too. So my mom says she goes to check the mail, and then I guess it was important mail. So she went ahead and pulled back into the driveway beside the house, pointing down the hill towards the pond, and she gets out, leaves the car running, goes in to drop off the mail. I always make fun of my mom here. I'm like, I don't know what she was doing. Maybe she was doing a shot of whiskey in there. I don't know what she was up to. But while she was in there, apparently I walk from the passenger side of the bench seat to the driver's side, put my hands on the steering wheel, pull it down into drive, or at the very least neutral, and the car starts going. So I start rolling, and she left the driver's side door open. And I start going. And then the car goes down, and I crash through a barbed wire fence. And then I start picking up speed. And my mom comes out and notices that the car's going. And she freaks out. And she starts chasing the car. And apparently I turned the car enough to go through these big pecan trees. I go through the trees, and it's just narrow enough for the car to fit through, and I hit one tree, and it closes the door. So then I drive on down. Apparently, I straighten up the car, and then I drive through another barbed wire fence, and then I crash into the pond. And I think this is like December. It's very cold. My mom can't swim. She goes running down. I crash into the pond. I'm 21 months old. She goes running to the driver's side door, and the car had already gone down in the water far enough to where that door couldn't be open. And apparently she goes around. I don't know if she's swimming. Maybe the water's shallow. I don't know. But the car is deep enough for the car to be sinking. But she goes around to the passenger side. That door won't open. So then she's able to get the back door open. And she said that when she opened the door, I'm just standing there smiling, and she opens the door, and apparently I go, "Mama!" right? And, I'm having a good time. And she grabs me out of there, says I never cried, said I only whimpered a bit when the cold water touched my foot, and she got me out of there and rescued me. So that was my very first car accident. So they came later, and they towed the car and got it out of the water, and the insurance adjuster came out, and they said the insurance adjuster was trying to figure out whether they would need to total the car or not, and while they were standing there, all of a sudden the windshield wipers came on out of nowhere. So he was like, well, let's total it. And then my dad used to, he still does, but back when I was a kid, he owned a lot of horses, and he used to ride a lot. So he said he used to take me with him on the horse rides, and then he would, trying to get me to talk, would name things. He would go like cow, and I would go cow. And then he would go, tree, and I would say tree. And then he looked at the pond, and he said pond, and I said car. So hilarious. And so that was my very first wreck at 21 months old. I started early, and then I got into it.